This is a continuation of the rolling restoration series. I got to figure out just what I'm going to do with this car. Am I going to take it all the way, or am I just going to kind of get it running and flip it? But I got to tell you, this thing is rough. The paint is rough, the convertible top leaks, the interior is a mess, and the window is all messed up here on the back. I don't know. But for today, we're going to focus on the water pump. How do I know the water pump is bad? Well, they told me it's bad. The guy who had the car. The guy who had the car, he knows what he's doing. He knew it was bad. It was bad enough that he dumped it. Let's start with taking off some plastic panels, some screws, expose the area. A few signs of bad work here before. You can see that whoever came in, they cracked this plastic. But more importantly, look at the edge of the radiator. This radiator is kind of pushed back and bent. And I'll tell you right now, this is why everybody should do their work at home. If you're a precise individual, if you know what's going on, if you value a quality job, just do it. Just do it yourself. That's what we're here for in the world of cardiology, showing you how you can do it yourself. This is not brain surgery or heart surgery. Alright folks, so I think the next step is to drain the coolant. We want to drain the radiator, and we're probably going to want to drain the engine block as well. Here's our radiator. The plug is on the underside of the radiator. In order to get to that, we're going to have to take off a plastic panel. Alright, so there's some plastic panels that we're going to need to remove in order to get access. What we really need is this middle plastic panel removed, but I can't quite see where the connectors are on it, so what we'll do is take off this plastic panel so that I can get in there and see what I'm doing. Okay. In here? Yeah. Take off the next one. Alright, so we're under the car, and right here is the blue valve where we're going to unscrew and release and drain the coolant. That is on the driver's side on this car. It would be a heck of a lot easier if I elevated this car, but since when do I ever do anything in the easy way? Okay, so with the radiator drained as we showed, if you come over here, I'm going to show you, we're going to take off the top radiator hose right here. I loosened this up. We're going to pull off the radiator hose, kind of like that. Make a little bit of a mess, but I got my buckets under there. And now we're going to work on taking off the water pump. Alright, so the next thing is going to be to remove the fan from the fan clutch. I have a 32mm special tool. You can get these on Amazon. About 25 bucks. Then this counter holds on the bolts, so I have to kind of get this set up until this finally gets a good grip, and then once it gets a good grip, we can get started. Okay, so with this tool in my right hand holding the water pump pulley, on my left hand I put a 32mm, and it's a left-handed thread, which means that I'm going to take it from the left to the right as I face the car. And that's gonna be kind of hard. I'll probably need a hammer. Alright, so by counter holding that and then really hitting it very hard because this thing was too tight, and using even a pipe to get leverage, I've loosened the nut. Now I'm going to spin the fan, and you see that it's going to spin off of the clutch. See how it's spinning off the clutch? You see how all those threads are coming? And there goes the fan. Alright, so now we can take the fan and the fan shroud out as a unit, and there is going to be a little pipe. Come to my right side, you'll see it right here. So we got to find where that pipe is and loosen it. That way I can take the whole thing out. Alright, so I've got to remove this wire from the coolant sensor. I'm going to do that carefully because we don't want to crack any plastic. And then that pipe comes in over here, so I'm going to take this off and be able to remove everything. Alright, so I got the coolant overflow tank off, disconnected the wire, removed the pipe, and now I'm going to be able to take out the whole fan shroud. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there you go. Just drain some of that coolant. Better be prepared to make a mess in this business. Okay. So, you see how this pipe kind of, there we go. This pipe sort of goes through the shroud. All you need to do is sort of fish the pipe through the shroud, or you can just do what I'm going to do now and just leave the shroud hanging to the right side. That'll be fine. Okay, so this is going to expose the lower radiator hose, which is here. I'm going to disconnect it from this, which is the thermostat housing. I'm going to be replacing the thermostat, and I have a new thermostat housing also. Alright, we're going to take off this top connection of the radiator hose to the thermostat housing. Now, the original BMW M52 engine has a plastic thermostat housing, and it should be replaced with an aluminum one. Somebody did replace this with an aluminum one, but it looks like it's seen better days. So for a fairly small amount of money, I'm going to be re-replacing it. It's interesting. I wonder if the problem's going to wind up being with the radiator, but I guess we're going to find out. Alright, so now I'm going to take off the lower radiator hose fully. There it comes. So you see, this concerns me because when I opened up the radiator, it wasn't emptying. Except when it indicated that it was empty. But then when I'm taking off these hoses, all the fluid's filling out. That says to me that the radiator's clogged. So I may need a new radiator on this car. We'll have to check. So this is what it looks like when you get the radiator out. You can see that there's evidence of pitting and just old dirty stuff, probably staining and spraying from the coolant all over the place. I want to clean it up. We're going to change the belt. We're going to take off that water pump. Now we got plenty of clearance. When you take off the radiator, which has supposedly been drained, and yet the radiator continues to have a ton of fluid in it. And you see that fluid level right there? And yet I drained the radiator. You know that the radiator is hosed. And then right here it looks like there's probably been a leak. So this radiator was bad. And then you see over here there's plastic, and half of this plastic is missing. So this radiator was shot. And it's probably the water pump and the radiator. The whole cooling system's getting redone. Alright, well, I have had every delay that I could possibly have on this project. Let's get this thing going. Here's the water pump. We got the water pump pulley with 4 bolts. These are at 10 Newton meters. These 4 bolts have to come off. Probably want to loosen them before we take off the belt, because it'll hold it and prevent it from spinning. Okay, with the belt still on at 10 millimeter, and we're just going to unlock these. 1, 2, that one was loose. 3, 4. Good. Alright, so it turns out you take a 17 millimeter. You leave that Torx alone. You take a 17 millimeter, and we're going to just push it this way, and that's going to release the belt. Take a look at how the belt runs. You might want to take a picture of it or make a drawing of it unless you have a service manual. We're going to want to put on a new belt when we're done. Right now, I just go like this, and then I have to reach in and take off the belt like that. Now we can let it go again, and that should take care of that. Alright, here comes the belt. And that is the inner belt. Now there's an outer belt. Oh great, I guess that's the air conditioner belt. I'll want to take that off also. And I'll put that to the side because I'm going to put on a new belt here. Alright, to take off the air conditioner belt, you take a number 8 Allen key, you insert it in, you go clockwise, and then you can take off that belt. Alright, now that the belts are off, take off these 4 screws. This is going to be for the water pump pulley. 1 is off, 2 is off, 3 is off. This pulley is plastic. If it's messed up, replace it. I'm going to replace the thermostat cover with a new aluminum one. This one's also aluminum, but it's kind of messed up. We have to take off this big bolt here, and then we have some smaller bolts around it. And then right underneath here is now the water pump with 4 nuts over here. And then what I'm going to do is insert some M6 screws, 1 here and 1 here, to, as I tighten the screws, it'll back out the water pump. Starting off on the thermostat cover, 13 millimeter. Unscrew this. Alright, thermostat cover. I loosened this one a little bit. Kept it on, but just loosened it so I can get a little wiggle room on that engine hook. Right in here is a 10 millimeter. Crack that off. Thermostat cover, 1 more 10 millimeter bolt right here. We're going to crack that off. Alright, thermostat cover should come off now. Ugh. I did say should. Now, I'm sure I missed a bolt somewhere. Let's look. Just go around and see how many bolts you missed, because this thing isn't moving anywhere. There's the one that I missed. Ugh. Crack that off with a 10 millimeter. There it goes. Alright, now with all the screws out, this should come off. Kind of like that. And as you can see, it's trashed. So, we did the right thing. We're going to renew everything, renew the gaskets, renew the thermostats. Car's going to be great. Here's the view of the thermostat housing. I want to clean this all up. They put a little RTV on it. Going to scrape that off. The thermostat will eventually come out. It just needs a little bit of persuasion. Alright, with substantial persuasion, which involved cutting away a rubber gasket and then basically using a medium-sized vice grip to just try to turn it and twist it, and then breaking a big sweat, it popped out and it was just being held in by corrosion and crap. This needed it badly. Okay, time to take off the 4 nuts holding in the water pump. Probably use 2 hands so I don't strip this. They're all kind of tight. To take out this water pump, I'm going to take some M6 bolts that I happen to have from other auto part jobs. We're going to just screw these in until it hits the timing cover. And then by carefully tightening this on both sides, we can back out the pump. Alright, everything here on the front of the engine is a bit of a mess. We're now going to give it a clean. I'm going to use a razor blade. I'm going to take off all the RTV, make sure I don't score the soft aluminum, clean everything else up, then we'll come back to you and start reassembling. Alright, here's our new Groff water pump. This looks like a pretty good one. Nice metal impeller. New gasket. Smooth, easy rotation. Let's put this thing on, see how it goes. I want to lubricate this with a little bit of silicone grease like what I use for my swimming pool. Alright, let's put in the new water pump. There she goes. Guess there's one way that it goes. And it's interesting, it's you know, there's some friction here, so we actually have to get the nuts started. Just a little bit of friction. So I got one nut to bite. Let's get one in the other corner. I didn't expect that. Very interesting. Ugh. Come on. There. Now I got 2 to bite. Let's get the 3rd one. And then what we'll do is just snug them down one by one using a 10mm socket. These get torqued to 10 Newton meters. Alright, let's torque it 10 Newton meters. There's 1. There's 2. 3. 4. So these were pretty over torqued when I found them. And now they're just right. Okay. All right, 1 Mahle Bear thermostat with gasket right there. We'll put that in. And a nice new aluminum thermostat housing. When they're original, they're plastic. The plastic ones need to be replaced. Somebody had clearly replaced the other one. That was good, but even that one looked a little bit rotten, so let's fix it up. Alright, these big screws, these big bolts go to 22 Newton meters. 1. Okay, and the small ones go to 10 Newton meters. Alright. Huh. There we go. That's 10. And let's get the ones underneath here. That's 10. 3rd one under here. That's 10. Okay, new plastic pulley for the water pump. Beautiful. We'll put that on. Alright, here comes the pulley. Remember that these nuts, this bolt pattern is rectangular, it's not square. So it's a little fiddly to get it started. And you have to make sure you don't make silly mistakes. But once you get it started, each one gets torqued down to 10 Newton meters. Alright, I got them snugged. I'm not going to torque them until the serpentine belt is on. That'll help stabilize the pulley and make things a lot easier to do. So I think next we ought to get that serpentine belt back on. Alright, I got us a new Continental serpentine belt. Let's put that on. Okay, so routing the serpentine belt. Go ahead and get on the belt tensioner with 17. Put this thing all the way clockwise. And then I should be able to slip on the belt. Fun. Try that again. There. You know, you just gotta kind of, don't let your tools get in the way of what you're actually doing here. This is one of those cases where having another set of hands would be fabulous. But cardiologist generally works alone. Okay, done. With the serpentine belt in place, torque these bolts to 10 Newton meters. Good. Good. Perfect. Okay, so we have the serpentine belt on. And then we have the AC belt on. And now it is time to go ahead and get the radiator prepped. We have the old junky radiator on its way out. Time to see what the new radiator looks like. Alright, new radiator compared to old radiator. Everything in the same place, just a few subtle issues. This is metal. This is plastic. This plastic is all broken off. Obviously this is good. And then this is where the temperature sensor goes. And on the new one there's just a plug on it. So we'll take off the plug, put in the temperature sensor. Get ready to put this in. Alright, so the plug is out. We're going to put the temperature sensor in. Just goes in smoothly. Make sure you don't cross thread it. And then use a 22 millimeter wrench and just snug it down. Don't go crazy on this thing. You don't want to break anything. That sounds good. Keeping in mind that the manual transmission radiator will be different from the auto transmission radiator. In the auto transmission radiator there'd have to be some arrangement to cool the transmission. But this is a manual, and the company that I bought it from got it right on. Alright, for ease of installation, before you do anything, put the lower radiator hose on. Just sort of plug it in. And of course it's free to rotate, but this really makes things a lot easier for the installation. Installing the radiator will get its foot pads right here on this, and there's another one right there. These are the retaining clips, so they have to be open. Alright, so time to slide the radiator in. Make sure that the bottom parts clip in. Okay, so radiator's in. I need some kind of rubber foot pad here. I think I might have to buy some new radiator clips. That's no big deal. I can certainly buy those. I have to clip these things in. I got this hooked up, sensor hooked up, overflow pipes hooked up. There's a pipe running underneath here. This is hooked up. It comes out this end. That is hooked up. Everything has the hose clamps, which actually might have been missing at the beginning. I just need to put on the upper radiator hose, and then I can put back on the fan with the viscous clutch. Alright, it is back together with great difficulty, including this fan. You know, you really have to get in there. I suggest taking off the top water hose to be able to get your hand in there, and then using the 32 millimeter wrench, and you just have to wait until it finally grabs. Once it grabs, you just spin it. It's left-handed thread, so you spin it counterclockwise and it'll tighten, and then you don't have to do anything else because it'll now spin clockwise, tightening it every time the fan actually spins, so you don't have to worry about it falling off. All the clips are in, everything is good. The one exception is that there has to be some kind of rubber insert here to tighten this up. So I either need to get new plastic secure straps or just the insert. Maybe I'll find them at a junkyard. Alright, a few finishing touches. We're going to put this particular part right over here into this, and then we got another one over here. Alright, the next thing is to get this plastic cover back on, which directs air down to the alternator. Never seen an alternator that gets cooled before, but what the heck. Alright, also need a new alternator duct. The old duct tape repair is just not cutting it. So we got one of these. Alright, we got the ventilation tube for the alternator back on. And the radiator's fully clipped in. Alright, car is running. And you know what? It runs smoothly. It sounds nice. No warning signs. This is good. Don't see leaks. See what's going on in here. Had to get a little gasoline for the car. Had to put it in by a can. Yeah, no lights. Let's wait a second until we get some temperature coming up. Alright, temperature's coming up. Now let's make sure that it never goes too high and that the fans kick on. Fans on. Good. Looking nice. Guess I'll have to top off the coolant when this is done.